The council chamber was vast, its walls shimmering with pale light, reflecting the tension that hung heavily in the air. Daniel stood beside Liara, his posture calm but alert, while the council members observed them intently. Every eye in the room was fixed on Liara, yet they also studied Daniel with a mixture of curiosity and caution. The revelation of her pregnancy had sent ripples through the council, challenging expectations and traditions alike. Liara's green eyes glinted with restrained fury. Her pride had been shaken, and the realization that a human male once so underestimated by her people had caused this outcome filled her with a mixture of shock, anger, and reluctant awe. She clenched her fists, taking a deep breath to steady herself before addressing the council. "This is unprecedented," she said sharply. "The trial was meant to test unity and trust. It was never meant to result in such a situation." The lead elder, a figure whose silver scales shimmered like liquid, nodded solemnly. "Indeed, Liara, the results are without precedent in our records. The connection formed during the trial has caused a biological response unique to your species, and this human was the catalyst." Lyra's eyes narrowed. Catalyst. This human male. She paused, swallowing the surge of conflicting emotions. "Explain how this is possible. How can a human achieve what our males could not in generations?" Daniel stepped forward, his voice calm and respectful. "I did not act with intent to harm or to alter natural processes. I followed the trial, responded to the challenges, and trusted the connection. Whatever happened naturally. The result is not a failure, is the outcome of the trial." A murmur spread through the council chamber. Some elders exchanged surprised glances. Others were visibly uneasy. Liara's voice cut through the room. "Do not mistake this as a simple outcome. This is an aberration. My body, my status, and my authority have been affected." Daniel remained steady, meeting her gaze without fear or arrogance. "Liara, the trial tested connection, trust, and understanding. It was not meant to undermine authority or status. It was meant to reveal potential, strength, and resilience. I only followed the path laid out before me." Liara's expression softened just slightly, though she would never admit it openly. The truth was undeniable. The human had acted honorably, with respect and control, achieving a result she could not have expected. Her pride bristled. But a part of her acknowledged that this human possessed qualities her people had. Underestimated, the lead elder raised a hand for silence. "We must consider the implications carefully," he said. "This human has demonstrated qualities that are extraordinary: patience, intelligence, adaptability, and emotional perception. All these traits contributed to the outcome. We must also consider the bond formed with Liara. It is not simply a matter of biology. It is a matter of potential unity between species." Lyra's jaw tightened. "Unity is not what I sought. I sought to complete the trial, nothing more." Daniel stepped closer, his tone gentle but firm. "I understand your frustration, Liara, but the outcome does not diminish your strength or your agency. It only demonstrates that humans, when faced with impossible challenges, can act with integrity and insight. We succeed through understanding, not force. That is what this trial has revealed." The council members whispered among themselves, debating in low tones. Finally, one elder spoke. "It seems clear that this human's actions, while unexpected, reflect the very principles we value: resilience, adaptability, and the capacity to form meaningful connection. Perhaps we must reconsider how we view your species, Liara. Perhaps we must recognize that humans can achieve what even our strongest believe impossible." Liara's eyes narrowed, conflicted. She felt anger at being challenged, pride at the human's abilities, and a faint spark of something new: curiosity, respect, and perhaps even trust. She looked at Daniel, who stood calmly, his posture unwavering. He had faced the trial with honor, respect, and intelligence, and now he faced the council with the same integrity. "You will accept responsibility," she said finally, her voice sharp but measured. "This situation cannot be ignored. You will need to stand by the outcome, and I will decide how to proceed for my own people." Daniel inclined his head. I do not seek to control the outcome. I will act according to what is right for you and for your people, Liara. My role is to honor the trust and connection formed in the trial." Liara studied him carefully, her mind racing. The council murmured again, debating potential solutions and protocols. But Daniel's calm presence seemed to influence their judgment. Even Liara could not deny that his actions had demonstrated qualities her people often overlooked: patience, thoughtfulness, and an unwavering focus on connection rather than personal gain. After hours of deliberation, the council finally reached a consensus. They would allow Liara to maintain control of the situation, while recognizing the human male's role in the trial and the resulting outcome. The decision was unprecedented, but it reflected the recognition of the human's extraordinary qualities. Liara exhaled slowly, a mixture of relief and lingering frustration in her chest. "This does not erase what has happened," she said sharply, though her tone carried a hint of acceptance. "But it does acknowledge the role you played. Do not presume to misunderstand the consequences, human. I understand completely. My role is to respect your choices and the trust placed in me." For a long moment, Liara studied him. She saw not arrogance, not fear, but steady calm and genuine respect. It was rare, even among her own people, and it stirred something unfamiliar, within her a faint admiration, perhaps, or the first stirrings of trust. The days following the council meeting were filled with preparation. Lyra's advisors and the human liaison worked together to ensure that the outcome of the trial was handled responsibly. Daniel assisted where he could, his insights proving invaluable, not just for his species, but for Lyra's people as well. His calm reasoning, problem-solving skills, and patience made him an unexpected ally in navigating the unprecedented situation. Despite her initial outrage, Liara found herself observing him more closely. She noted how he treated the people around him with respect, care, and an unshakable sense of responsibility. She found herself considering his perspective, weighing it against her own instincts. Slowly, the tension in her chest began to ease, replaced by a subtle growing recognition of the qualities that had guided him through the trial. One evening, as they walked along the cliffs overlooking the city, Liara spoke quietly. "You have done what no human or alien could have done before. You passed the trial, and yet you have also challenged everything I believed about my own people and your species." Daniel glanced at her, calm and steady. "The trial was never meant to challenge you personally. It was meant to reveal what could be achieved through understanding and connection. I only followed the path laid before me." Liara looked out over the glowing city, her thoughts complex and conflicting. "And yet, it has changed everything. I thought I could control the outcome, but you have shown a strength and clarity I did not expect. I do not fully understand it yet." Daniel placed a hand gently on hers. "Perhaps understanding comes with time. Liara, perhaps we learn not just through trials, but through patience, respect, and experience." Lyra's breath caught slightly, and she turned to him, her green eyes reflecting a mixture of pride and something softer, something unfamiliar. She said nothing, but the acknowledgement in her gaze spoke volumes. As weeks passed, the pregnancy progressed, and Liara began to see the human not as a mere participant in the trial, but as a partner, someone who had demonstrated resilience, respect, and integrity beyond expectation. The council continued to observe, taking note of the unprecedented situation, but even they could not deny that the human's qualities were extraordinary. Daniel, for his part, remained humble, focused on supporting Liara and honoring the bond formed during the trial. He did not seek power, recognition, or control. He sought understanding, harmony, and the opportunity to prove that humanity, though underestimated, possessed qualities capable of surprising even the most powerful alien civilizations. One evening, as the twin moons reflected off the crystalline spires of the city, Liara spoke quietly, almost to herself. "You are unlike any being I have encountered. You have faced trials that would break most, and yet you remain steady, thoughtful, and strong." Daniel looked at her, a faint smile on his lips. Strength is not always shown through force, Liara. Sometimes it is shown through patience, understanding, and the willingness to act with integrity. That is what humans do when faced with the impossible. Liara studied him, a subtle tension in her chest easing. For the first time, she allowed herself to acknowledge what had been growing inside her, the faint stirrings of respect, trust, and a connection that transcended trial and expectation. The council observed quietly, their records documenting the events, but the real outcome was already clear. A bond had formed between human and alien, one born of challenge, respect, and unexpected harmony. It was a reminder that even in a universe defined by difference, courage, patience, and understanding could bridge the gap between worlds. As Liara looked at Daniel, she felt a deep, unspoken acknowledgement of the truth. He had changed her perspective, challenged her assumptions, and shown that humans were not to be. The morning sun rose slowly over Lyra's city, casting long beams of light across the crystalline spires. Daniel awoke in the quarters provided by the council, the room simple but elegant. Soft light filtered through translucent walls, giving the chamber a calm, almost serene feeling. He dressed carefully, preparing himself for the day ahead. Today was the beginning of the bonding trial Liara had mentioned. Though he did not yet fully understand what it entailed, he felt a mixture of nervousness and determination. When he stepped out into the corridor, Liara was waiting. She leaned casually against a glowing rail, arms crossed, her piercing green eyes fixed on him. Her expression was unreadable, but the faint smirk on her lips suggested a mix of amusement and skepticism. "You are punctual," she said. "Most humans would have stumbled at the first test of discipline. It seems your kind has some surprises." Daniel inclined his head politely. "I try to respect the rules of the world I am in. It makes learning easier." Liara gave a short laugh, almost a bark. "Rules, that is easy. It is understanding, adaptation, and endurance that matter. Follow me." She led him through a series of corridors, eventually stopping in a vast open chamber. The walls glimmered with light, and the floor seemed to shift slightly under their weight, giving the impression that the room itself was alive. At the center of the chamber stood a structure unlike anything Daniel had seen before. It was circular, with intricate symbols etched into its surface. A soft hum resonated from the floor, filling the air with a vibration that seemed to stir the very bones. "This is the bonding arena," Liara explained. "It is designed not to harm but to challenge. Your mind, your body, your patience, and your ability to work with another will all be tested." Daniel stepped forward, examining the symbols and patterns. "And what exactly is expected of me?" "You will discover that soon enough," Liara said. Her voice held a sharp edge, though her eyes betrayed a flicker of curiosity. "Most humans fail immediately. They cannot comprehend the unity required. We will see if you are different." As they prepared to enter the arena, a group of alien observers materialized at the edges of the chamber. They were silent, their presence commanding. Daniel could feel the weight of their scrutiny, but he refused to let it intimidate him. He straightened, took a deep breath, and waited for the first instruction. The floor beneath him shifted suddenly, forming a pattern of raised platforms and glowing lines. "Your task is simple, in theory," Liara said. "Move through the arena without disrupting the energy flows. You will be tested for focus and cooperation. Most humans stumble in the first minute." Daniel nodded. He began to move cautiously, stepping from one platform to another, his eyes scanning the shifting patterns. The energy flows pulsed beneath his feet, and he quickly realized that a wrong step could send him tumbling into the chamber's lower level. But he stayed calm, observing the rhythms, adjusting his movements to match the energy's flow. Liara followed silently, her sharp eyes tracking his every step. "Interesting," she murmured. "He does not rush. He adapts." Minutes passed, and Daniel moved steadily, solving small challenges that appeared in his path. Platforms rotated, symbols shifted, and lights flashed unpredictably. Each time, he paused, analyzed, and then proceeded. He did not panic. He did not overthink. He simply observed and acted. Finally, he reached the central platform. The energy flows pulsed more intensely, and a subtle vibration ran through the floor. At the center of the platform, a glowing orb hovered, radiating warmth and light. Daniel reached out carefully. The moment his hand touched the orb, a wave of energy passed through him. He felt a strange connection, not just with the arena, but with something deeper, an understanding of balance, patience, and focus. Liara stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "Few humans have reached this point," she said. "Even fewer understand it. You may be different, after all." Daniel withdrew his hand and stepped back. "Different how?" he asked. Lyra's eyes studied him closely. "You are calm, but alert. Strong, but not overconfident. You do not rush, but you act decisively. Your kind is often reckless, yet you have control. That is rare." Before Daniel could respond, the arena shifted again. Panels rose around him, forming walls that seemed to breathe. The next test began. He was no longer alone. Lyra's presence became active within the trial, her own movements synchronized with the patterns of the arena. "You must work with me," she said, "not against me. The challenge is not strength, but unity." Daniel nodded, understanding. "Then we moved together." The platforms shifted rapidly now, flashing with bright light, and the energy flows intensified. Daniel and Liara moved in unison, testing their coordination. He mirrored her movements instinctively, and she adjusted to his pace. Though she had expected him to falter, he adapted quickly, responding with precision she did not anticipate. Lyra's mind raced. This human, she realized, was not merely surviving the trial. He was learning from it, shaping his actions around hers, and improving as they progressed. Her pride, which had initially made her dismissive, began to turn into a grudging respect. Minutes stretched into hours. The challenges grew more complex, simultaneous puzzles requiring split-second timing, platforms that shifted unpredictably, and obstacles that demanded trust. Daniel did not falter once. Liara noticed that, despite his smaller frame, he had endurance and focus beyond what she had expected from a human. At one point, a sudden shift caused her to lose balance. Instinctively, Daniel reached out and steadied her, his hand firm and sure. Liora's green eyes widened slightly. She had anticipated weakness, not help. There was no hesitation, no fear, only a calm, unwavering support. "You are different," she said quietly, almost to herself. Daniel smiled faintly. "We succeed together. That is how challenges are meant to be met." Liara's expression softened, though she did not admit it aloud. For the first time, she began to consider that humans might possess qualities her people had underestimated. They moved together through the arena, their actions becoming almost seamless. The observers at the edges murmured among themselves, pressed by the cooperation. Finally, they reached the final stage of the trial. A large energy field blocked the exit, pulsing with intense light. Liara examined it carefully. "This is the final test. You must synchronize your energy with mine. Only then will the field allow passage." Daniel stepped forward. "Then we synchronize. Together." He reached out, placing his hand near hers. He focused on the rhythm of the arena, matching his movements with hers. Slowly, deliberately, their energies aligned, creating a harmony that pulsed outward. The energy field shimmered, then receded, opening a path to the exit. Liara stared at him, astonished. She had expected failure, or at most, a partial success. Instead, the human had not only survived, but had met every challenge and worked with her seamlessly. Her pride battled with a strange sense of admiration. "You did not fail," she said finally. "You adapted. You learned, you endured." Daniel nodded, catching his breath. "I promised to do my best. I am glad I could meet your expectations." Lyra's expression softened further, though she would not show it to the council yet. "You are? Unlike any human I have encountered. Perhaps there is more potential in your kind than we realized." The arena dissolved around them, returning to the calm chamber they had started in. Daniel looked around, feeling the satisfaction of accomplishment, but also the weight of what had just occurred. He had passed the first part of the bonding trial. But he knew the trials were far from over. Liara regarded him with a mixture of irritation and curiosity. "Do not mistake this as trust or friendship," she said sharply. "You have done well, yes, but you have only begun. There are still matters that your species cannot yet comprehend. The trial is only partially complete." Daniel smiled faintly, undeterred. "I am ready for the next challenge, whatever it may be." Lyra's eyes narrowed slightly. "Your confidence is unusual for a human. Most would be exhausted, afraid, or reckless by now. You endure. Perhaps there is something in you worth watching." The rest of the day passed with less intensity, as the council observed quietly, taking notes and debating among themselves. Daniel had proven that humans could adapt, learn, and endure under conditions that seemed impossible. Liara, for her part, began to see him not as a weak outsider, but as a being capable of surprising strength that night. As the city glimmered under the twin moons, Daniel and Liara stood together on a balcony overlooking the alien landscape. Silence hung between them. It was no longer tense, it was contemplative. "You were remarkable today," Liara said softly, almost admitting something she had not before. Daniel looked at her, sensing the faint shift in her demeanor. "Thank you. Your guidance helped me understand what was needed." Liara studied him, her pride battling with curiosity. "Few humans could have achieved what you did. Most would have failed instantly. Perhaps there is more to your species than we thought." Daniel smiled, feeling a quiet satisfaction. "I hope I can continue to show you that humans are not as weak as your records claim." Liara gave a faint nod, her expression unreadable again. "Perhaps, but do not mistake my words for friendship yet. The trials continue, and the next will test more than your endurance. It will test your understanding of connection. That is where most humans fail." Daniel did not flinch. "Then I will continue to learn." The morning air was cool and crisp, carrying a faint scent of the metallic flora that grew along the cliffs surrounding the city. Daniel woke feeling a mixture of excitement and determination. The first part of the bonding trial had tested his endurance and coordination. But Liara had warned that the next stage would challenge something far deeper, the understanding between them. The ability to truly connect. When he arrived at the arena, Liara was already waiting. Her posture was relaxed, yet her eyes held the same intensity that had unnerved him before. She regarded him with an unreadable expression, her lips curving into a faint, almost imperceptible smirk. "You survived the first part," she said, her tone sharp but not entirely dismissive. "Few humans even reach this point. Do not think the challenges will become easier now." Daniel nodded, his gaze steady. "I am ready for whatever comes next." Liara studied him for a moment, her green eyes narrowing slightly. "The next stage is not about skill or endurance. It is about perception, emotion, and trust. You will need to act not only with your mind, but with your understanding of another being. Most humans cannot manage this." Daniel felt a slight twinge of nervousness, but he pushed it aside. He had faced impossible physical challenges before. Perhaps now it was time to face a challenge of a different kind. The arena shifted as they entered. The familiar platforms and glowing lines were replaced by a vast, open chamber filled with floating spheres of light. Each sphere pulsed with energy, and the air hummed with a low, vibrating tone. Daniel realized that this stage would not be about movement alone. It would require insight, patience, and communication. Liara gestured toward the spheres. "Each sphere contains a reflection of your thoughts and emotions. To pass, you must synchronize your reflections with mine. If you fail, the arena will reset and the trial begins again." Daniel frowned slightly, uncertain how to approach this. He took a deep breath, closing his eyes briefly to center himself. He had learned to observe and adapt during the physical trial. Now he would need to observe feelings and intentions. Liara extended her hand toward a nearby sphere. Its surface rippled like liquid crystal, reflecting her expression back at her. Daniel hesitated for only a moment before stepping forward and reaching toward the nearest sphere. As soon as his hand touched it, he felt a strange warmth spread through his body, almost like a connection being formed. The sphere shimmered and vibrated under his touch, reflecting not just his own thoughts, but a mirrored version of Lyra's emotions. "Focus on understanding, not control," Lyra said quietly. "The spheres respond to perception and harmony, not force." Daniel nodded. He closed his eyes and reached deeper, not thinking of what he wanted the sphere to do, but trying to understand what it wanted from him. Slowly, the rippling surface began to stabilize, shimmering in perfect unison with the sphere Lyra was holding. A faint hum of approval echoed through the chamber. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. She had expected him to falter, to become confused or frustrated. Instead, he adapted, learning to harmonize with the energy of the Aranand. With her presence, she could feel a subtle shift in her own focus, an instinctive awareness of his intentions and emotions. Minutes passed, and Daniel moved from sphere to sphere, aligning his energy with each one. Lyra followed, adjusting her own focus in tandem. The spheres reacted to their synchronization, glowing brighter and resonating with a harmonious tone that filled the chamber. For the first time, Lyra felt something she had never experienced before, a genuine connection with a human. "This is unusual," she murmured, almost to herself. "He is not just enduring the trial. He is learning from it, shaping his actions around mine." Daniel heard her voice and gave a faint smile. "I am trying to understand. That is the only way to succeed." The arena pulsed again, and a new challenge emerged. The spheres began to move, floating unpredictably, shifting positions and patterns that were almost impossible to predict. Daniel felt the tension rise, but he remained calm, studying each sphere carefully. He realized that success depended not on rushing, but on observing and anticipating, just as he had learned in the first stage. Lyra watched him closely. Her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. She had expected failure. Instead, he was thriving under conditions that had tested even the most skilled aliens. Her mind raced, trying to reconcile her pride with the undeniable truth. This human was exceptional at one point. A sphere drifted too close to the edge of the chamber. Lyra reached out instinctively, but Daniel anticipated the movement, extending his hand to stabilize it. Their hands brushed lightly, and for a brief moment, a strange warmth passed between them. Lyra stiffened, surprised by the unexpected sensation. "Focus," she said sharply, breaking the moment. "Do not allow distraction." Daniel nodded, though he felt a faint thrill of curiosity. The connection had been unplanned, yet it seemed to enhance their synchronization rather than hinder it. He adjusted, moving with precision, anticipating her actions as if he could feel them before she made them. Hours passed. The spheres shifted and danced, presenting new challenges at every turn. Daniel's mind remained clear, his movements deliberate, and his focus unwavering. Lyra could no longer deny the truth. He was not just surviving, he was excelling. Finally, the arena pulsed with a brilliant light, signaling the completion of the stage. The spheres aligned perfectly, their energy harmonized in a display of radiant color. Daniel stepped back, breathing heavily, but with a quiet sense of accomplishment. Lyra studied him, her green eyes wide with a mixture of astonishment and reluctant admiration. "You have done what no human has ever done before," she said quietly. "You have not only endured the trial, but you have understood it. You have connected." With me, Daniel shook his head slightly, a faint smile on his lips. "I did not connect to impress or compete. I connected because it was necessary to succeed. That is all." Lyra's expression softened, though she would not admit it fully. For the first time, she felt a strange tension between pride and curiosity, between disbelief and fascination. "You are remarkable," she said finally. "Perhaps there is more to your species than I realized." As they exited the arena, the observers from the council approached. Their expressions were a mix of surprise, admiration, and cautious skepticism. Lyra spoke first. "This human has achieved what was thought impossible. He is connected with the trial and with Min, a way that defies expectations." The council members murmured among themselves, their voices a low hum of discussion. One of the elders, a figure with scales that shimmered like liquid silver, stepped forward. If this is true, it could have implications for our understanding of humans. Their potential may have been underestimated. Liara nodded, though her pride bristled at the idea of humans being elevated. Do not mistake this as friendship or acceptance, she said sharply. It is a recognition of capability, nothing more. Yeah. Daniel inclined his head respectfully. I do not seek accolades. I seek understanding, and the opportunity to prove that humans are more than records and assumptions suggest. The city glowed softly under the twin moons, and Daniel found himself reflecting on the day's events. He had succeeded in the trial, gained the respect of the council, and even earned a faint acknowledgement from Liara, though she would never admit it outright. Yet he knew the next stages would be even more challenging. The final parts of the bonding trial would test trust, emotion, and something deeper than skill or intellect. Liara, for her part, walked along the balcony overlooking the city, her mind in turmoil. She had expected disdain, weakness, and failure. Instead, she found herself observing a human who was patient, intelligent, and surprisingly perceptive. Her pride resisted the admission, but she could not ignore the growing respect and the strange, unexpected curiosity she felt toward him. She recalled the moment their hands had brushed during the trial, a fleeting contact that had sent an unfamiliar warmth through her body. She had dismissed it at first, but she could not shake the sensation. There was something different about this human, something she had never encountered before in her people. The night passed quietly, yet both Daniel and Liara were restless with anticipation. The next stage of the trial promised challenges that would test not just their abilities, but their understanding of each other. The connection formed in the arena would be the key, and both knew that the coming days would determine more than just success in a trial. They would determine a foundation of something neither of them could yet fully comprehend. As the first light of dawn crept over the horizon, Daniel prepared himself for the next stage. He felt a mix of excitement and determination, knowing that the bond he had begun to form with Liara was fragile, yet full of potential. Whatever lay ahead, he was ready to face it not as a conqueror, not as a competitor, but as a human willing to show the strength, courage, and heart that defined his species. Liara, observing from her vantage point, allowed herself a brief moment of reflection. She could feel the stirrings of something she did not yet understand, a mixture of admiration, curiosity, and an unfamiliar pull toward the human who had defied every expectation. She clenched her fists slightly, a reminder to herself that pride must not falter, yet she could not deny that the trial had already changed something within her. The morning light bathed the city in gold as Daniel made his way to the bonding arena. The first two stages of the trial had tested endurance, coordination, and understanding, and he had succeeded beyond expectation. Yet he knew that the next phase would push him in ways he had not yet imagined. Liara had been clear. This stage would test trust, emotion, and the deepest understanding between them. When Daniel arrived, Liara was already waiting. She stood at the center of the chamber, her posture poised and commanding, her green eyes fixed on him. Her expression was unreadable, but Daniel sensed a flicker of tension beneath her controlled exterior. Today, he knew, would be different. This stage is unlike the others, Liara said quietly, her voice sharp but controlled. It is not about skill or intelligence. It is about trust, connection, and vulnerability. Most humans cannot withstand it. Few aliens can, either. Daniel nodded. I understand. I will do my best. Lyra's eyes studied him, narrowing slightly. Your best has been unusual so far. Perhaps it is time to see if it extends beyond the trial itself. The arena shifted as they stepped inside. Platforms dissolved into a vast open space, filled with floating lights that pulsed gently. At first, the room seemed calm, but then the lights began to swirl, forming patterns that mirrored the movements of their bodies. Daniel realized immediately that this stage would require not just coordination, but complete harmony between them. You must move together, not just side by side, but as one, Liara explained. The trial will respond to unity, trust, and emotional connection. Fail, and you will start again. Daniel stepped forward carefully, mirroring her movements as she shifted her weight and extended a hand toward one of the floating lights. The moment their hands met near the orb, a subtle pulse of energy ran through the chamber. The light responded instantly, glowing brighter and spreading warmth through the arena. Lyra's eyes widened. "You understand the rhythm," she said softly. She did not intend to admit it aloud, but his instinctive awareness of her movement and emotion was astonishing. Few beings can align so quickly. Daniel smiled faintly, keeping his focus. It is not just understanding. It is observing, listening, and responding. That is how unity works. They moved together through the chamber, the lights pulsing and shifting in response to their harmony. For the first time, the trial was not merely a test, it was a dance. Daniel's confidence grew, but so did Lyra's attention. She had expected arrogance or clumsiness. Instead, she found precision, care, and a surprising sensitivity to her presence. Hours passed, and the challenges intensified. Lights shifted faster, patterns became more complex, and the pulsing energy seemed almost alive, reacting to subtle changes in their emotions. At one point, a sudden surge of energy caused Lyra to stumble slightly. Without hesitation, Daniel reached out and steadied her. Their hands touched firmly, and for a moment, strange warmth passed between them. Lyra's breath caught slightly, a reaction she quickly masked. "Focus," she said sharply, though her voice betrayed a hint of uncertainty. Daniel nodded. But the moment had changed something between them. He realized that the trial was testing more than skill or endurance. It was testing connection, trust, and openness. And despite her pride and warnings, Lyra was responding to him, just as he was responding to her. As the day progressed, the arena's challenges grew more intimate in nature. At one point, the trial required them to synchronize movements with near-perfect timing while floating above a glowing pit of energy. One wrong motion could send them tumbling into a soft but disorienting fall. Daniel and Lyra moved together, mirroring each other instinctively. The connection between them grew more tangible, a silent understanding forming with every step. Every gesture, Lyra, despite herself, began to feel a growing tensional mixture of admiration, irritation, and curiosity. She had expected weakness, yet Daniel was proving strong in ways she had not imagined. She had expected failure, yet he had achieved unity without complaint or hesitation. And now, she sensed an emotional connection she had never experienced with a human before. The final task of the day arrived unexpectedly. A sphere of light appeared between them, larger than any they had encountered before. It pulsed with energy, radiating warmth and intensity that seemed to echo the bond they had been forming. Lyra studied it, her pride battling with the strange awareness forming in her chest. "You must both enter the sphere," she said, her voice firmer than before. "Only through complete trust and connection will it respond. Few beings survive this step without fear or hesitation." Daniel nodded, stepping forward without hesitation. "Then we face it together." Lyra took a deep breath and followed. The moment they entered the sphere, a wave of energy enveloped them. It was warm, pulsing, and strangely intimate. Daniel felt a deep resonance with Lyra's presence, and she felt the same with him. The sphere seemed to respond to their emotional state, glowing brighter as their trust and focus aligned. Minutes passed, but the sphere did not relent. It seemed to test them, probing their connection, seeking weakness, hesitation, or doubt. Daniel maintained his calm, projecting patience, understanding, and openness. Lyra mirrored his focus, her initial irritation transforming into something unspoken curiosity, perhaps, or the faintest hint of admiration. Then, the sphere pulsed more intensely, and a sudden surge of energy swept through them. Both Daniel and Lyra felt a jolt of awareness, a physical and emotional resonance that neither had anticipated. Lyra gasped softly, stepping back instinctively, yet Daniel remained calm. He had learned to face the unexpected, and he focused on maintaining the harmony between them. When the energy subsided, the sphere dissolved. Lyra blinked, disoriented. For the first time, she felt something she could not explain, something beyond strength, endurance, or coordination. Her pride battled with an unfamiliar emotion, one that made her pulse quicken and her thoughts race. Daniel studied her carefully. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice calm and steady, offering reassurance without intrusion. Lyra's lips pressed into a thin line. "I am fine," she said sharply, though her voice betrayed a flicker of uncertainty. She looked away, struggling to maintain her composure. That was unexpected. Most humans would have faltered. "I did not falter," Daniel said softly. "I focused. I listened. I adapted." Liara turned her gaze back to him, and for a brief moment the arena was silent except for the soft hum of residual energy. She realized that she had underestimated him not just in skill, but in resilience and perception. He had faced something few could endure, and he had emerged intact, unshaken. And connected, days passed as the trial continued in similar fashion, each stage testing not only their physical and mental abilities, but also their emotional understanding. Daniel's calm confidence and thoughtful approach impressed Liara repeatedly. While she found herself responding to him in ways she could not fully explain, she felt a growing tension inside her, a mixture of admiration, curiosity, and an emotion she did not yet recognize. Then one morning, the council summoned them unexpectedly. Liara and Daniel arrived to find the elders gathered, their expressions serious. A holographic display activated in the center of the chamber, showing a series of results and biological readings from the bonding trial. The lead elder spoke. "This is unprecedented," he said. "The human has not only passed every stage, but the bonding trial has produced results never before recorded with your species, Liara." Liara stepped forward, her pulse quickening despite herself. "Explain," she demanded, her voice tight with tension. The elder hesitated before continuing. "The connection formed during the trial has triggered a biological response. Liara, you are pregnant." The words struck her like a physical blow. Her green eyes widened, shock and disbelief overtaking her composed expression. "What? How?" she stammered, her mind racing. She had expected many outcomes from this trial, but this was impossible. Her pride, her control, and her careful planning had not accounted for such a result. Daniel's expression mirrored her shock.
"Oh."
Though he remained calm, I did not expect this either," he said honestly. "It was never my intention. I only followed the trial in your guidance." Liara turned sharply to him, her face flushed with a mixture of anger, confusion, and humiliation. "You human. You have done what no alien male of my kind could accomplish, and on the first attempt." Daniel raised his hands in a placating gesture. "I did not force it. The trial was designed to form connection and trust. This happened naturally. I cannot control it any more than you can." Lyra's breath came in sharp bursts. Her mind raced, torn between pride, disbelief, and outrage. She had always believed herself untouchable, unshakable. Yet here was a human, underestimated by her people, who had achieved something no one else could. "You will face the council," she said sharply, struggling to maintain her composure. "We must determine how to handle this." "This aberration," Daniel nodded quietly. "I will face them. I only hope we can find a solution that honors both your people and mine." As they walked to the council chamber, Liara's thoughts swirled. She had expected trials, tests, and challenges. She had not expected this, and yet, despite her outrage, she could not deny a faint awareness, subtle pull toward the human who had done the impossible. Daniel's shuttle cut through the purple haze of Lyra's homeworld, gliding past jagged mountain peaks that shimmered with a strange metallic light. The air outside was thick with a faint aroma of minerals and something floral, scent he couldn't place but found oddly calming. He adjusted the controls and exhaled slowly. This world was unlike any he had ever seen, an alien paradise, yet filled with danger. The mission he had volunteered for was clear: establish peace and understanding between humans and Lyra's species. A proud and powerful alien race known for their strength and intelligence, As he stepped out of the shuttle onto the landing platform, Daniel's boots clicked against a surface that glowed faintly under his weight. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of eyes upon him. He knew that his every move would be observed by the alien council, perhaps by Liara herself, though he had yet to meet her in person. Rumors had preceded him, stories of her pride, her sharp mind, and her near-mythical prowess in both battle and strategy. Most humans would have been intimidated, but Daniel felt something else: curiosity and a spark of confidence. He had always believed that humans, though weaker physically, had something no alien could match. Heart. A door hissed open, and a figure emerged. Liara stepped onto the platform, her posture rigid, her expression one of calculated authority. She was taller than most humans, with skin that glimmered like polished bronze under the sunlight. Her eyes, a piercing shade of emerald, studied Daniel with sharp intelligence. Her long hair, almost like strands of spun metal, flowed behind her, moving as though it had a life of its own. Every detail about her seemed designed to intimidate. To remind outsiders that she was not to be underestimated, Daniel inclined his head politely. "I am Daniel from Earth," he said, keeping his voice calm and respectful. "I hope to learn from you and your people." Lyra's lips curved in a faint smirk, one that suggested amusement rather than friendliness. "Earth. Humans. I have read of your kind. Small, fragile, and easily forgotten." Her tone was sharp, almost cutting. But Daniel did not flinch. "I may be small," Daniel said, choosing his words carefully, "but I believe there is more to strength than size." Liara raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued despite herself. Most of her people would have dismissed him outright, but there was something in his calm manner that held her attention. She turned slightly and gestured for him to follow. The air was thick with the scent of minerals and something that reminded Daniel of rain-soaked metal. The walls around them pulsed faintly with light, as if the very building were alive, as they walked through the corridors of the council hall. Daniel noticed alien guards stationed at regular intervals. Their armor glimmered, intricate and elegant, reflecting both artistry and deadly efficiency. Liara noticed him noticing them and smirked again. "Curious," she said softly. "Do you see only the beauty, or do you also see the danger?" "I see both," Daniel replied honestly. "And I see that your people value discipline and vigilance." Liara paused at a large window overlooking the alien city. Spires of crystal and metal rose into the sky, some twisting and turning in ways that seemed to defy physics. Ships of varying shapes glided silently through the air, leaving faint trails of light behind them. "Impressive," Daniel said quietly, almost to himself. "Do not mistake beauty for weakness," Liara said sharply, her voice cutting through his thoughts. "This city has survived countless threats. Only the strong endure here." Daniel nodded. "I understand, and I respect that. I am here to learn, not to underestimate your people." Liara studied him for a long moment, then nodded slightly. "We shall see if your respect is more than words. Few humans have ever been invited here. Even fewer have made it past the first council meeting." The council hall was vast, circular, with a ceiling that seemed to stretch endlessly upward. Holographic symbols floated in midair, displaying data and information in patterns that made Daniel's head spin. The council members were seated around the hall, each exuding authority. Some had scales that shimmered in subtle colors. Others had limbs unlike anything Daniel had seen on Earth. Every detail spoke of evolution perfected for survival, intelligence, and strength. Liara led Daniel to a raised platform where a member of the council, a tall figure with sapphire-colored skin, observed him closely. "This is the human Liara announced. He claims to come with peaceful intent." The council member's voice was deep and resonant. "Peaceful intent is easy to claim. We will see if he understands the responsibilities that come with being here." Daniel stepped forward. "I understand that I am a guest, and I respect the traditions of your people. My goal is simple: to learn, to understand, and to build a bridge between our worlds." The council remained silent for a moment, the tension heavy in the air. Finally, Liara spoke. "We will test his resolve. We will see if he possesses more than words. Humans are known for courage, yes, but also for recklessness. Let us determine which applies here. The tests were subtle at first. Daniel was asked questions about human history, strategy, and ethics. He answered each with honesty and clarity, impressing some council members while earning skeptical glances from others. Then came physical trials, designed not just to test strength, but adaptability, intelligence, and courage under pressure. Daniel faced challenges that would have crushed most humans. He had to navigate shifting platforms above a pit that seemed bottomless, solve alien puzzles under extreme time constraints, and demonstrate cooperation with beings far stronger than himself. Through it all, he never panicked, never boasted, and never gave up. Liara watched silently, her expression unreadable, though her eyes betrayed a flicker of respect. By the end of the day, Daniel was exhausted, but he had survived every trial. The council murmured among themselves, some clearly impressed, others still skeptical. Liara finally approached him again as the sun began to set, bathing the city in a soft orange glow. "You have done well," she said. "Better than I expected. Perhaps humans are not as weak as our records suggest." Daniel smiled faintly, though he was still catching his breath. "Thank you. I try to do my best in every situation." Liara studied him closely. "Your best is unusual for a human. You think, you plan, you endure. There is something in you that is different. Perhaps this is why you have been allowed here." Daniel tilted his head, curious. "Different in what way?" "You possess qualities that my people respect, though we rarely find them in humans. Patience, courage, and a certain calm in the face of chaos. It is rare for your kind." Daniel felt a spark of pride, but he kept his expression humble. "I've learned that sometimes strength is not just in power, but in understanding, in caring for others, in standing firm when it matters most." Akira's lips curved into a small, almost imperceptible smile. She had been taught to see humans as fragile, inconsequential, and unworthy. And yet, here was one who had passed trials she believed no human could survive. Here was one who had faced her people's challenges without flinching. "The next step is not simple," Liara said. "You must participate in a tradition, a bonding trial. It is not just a test of body, but of spirit. Most humans fail even to grasp its meaning. I expect you will fail as well." Daniel did not hesitate. "I will do my best. I am not here to fail, but to learn." Liara nodded slowly. "Then we shall see. This world and my people will judge you. And perhaps you may discover that there is more strength in humans than any of us anticipated." As night fell, the city glowed with soft light from countless floating structures. Daniel looked out over the alien landscape, feeling a mix of awe and determination. He had passed the first hurdle, but he knew the trials ahead would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. Liara, watching from beside him, felt a strange tension. She had expected contempt, weakness, and failure. Instead, she saw courage, intelligence, and something she had never seen in a human before. The night was quiet, but both knew the storm of challengers and, perhaps unexpected bonds, was only beginning.